And lied. There we go. We are now recording. Yeah, we are now recording. Yes, everything should be good. I think this is going to be a quick one, although there were really some interesting bits that came through in the last week. First, is there anybody from Social on right now? Or anybody that attended the Social on Saturday and Sunday? I was kind of hoping to get a report on that, but maybe we can get one for Friday. I did spring this on them. I didn't actually ask them to prepare anything. I was just hoping that one of you would have gone and would be willing to kind of talk to us. All right, we'll find out how that goes. Hopefully they got some good people to do their testing or to help them with their testing. If not, if we do this, maybe we can do it a week that's not break, and we can get all of you kind of participating and helping them not to break their network or break their network. The second thing is I said I would find out more information on All Things Open. All Things Open is going to be October 17th through 19th. It's going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's $99 in person. But here's the kicker for all of you. It's completely free online. Feel free to register. You can sit in your own living room. It's not quite as much fun, but it is more cost effective. Sit in your own living room for free. They've gotten some sponsors that are paying for the wireless access for everybody, or the online access for everybody. So if you're interested, please check out their site. They have it all open right now, so you can go out there and you can look at things like the event overview. What I'm actually looking for is down here. These are the companies that are sponsoring it. And these are, if you want to kind of get a idea of the speakers or what they talk about, these are some of the speakers, and the first 50 speakers have been announced. So you can imagine it's a fairly packed conference. These are the people who will be talking. It should be a good time. And if you're at home, what I do is probably not the best way to actually learn anything, but I do kind of turn this on in the background and just kind of go through and listen to everybody as they kind of talk about what they're interested in until I find something really interesting, and then I sit down and get engaged. So you can see they've got a lot of Fidelity, Red Hat. I saw some IBM up there, some smaller companies, Tech Skills Transformations. I'm not sure what Applitools is, but that kind of looks cool. NASA JPL. So there are a lot of interesting speakers, and they'll speak on, they call this a polyglot conference, which means that they're not honing in on any specific technology. They're open to a bunch of different technologies in open source and a bunch of different perspectives on open source. It's just a fun little conference. It's cheap. It's cheap in person. It's even cheaper to sit in your living room. And if you don't know, Raleigh, North Carolina is one of the headquarters of Red Hat. So when they have a nice speaker from GitHub, a couple from Red Hat, IBM. Anyway, VMware even. Nice. So it's bound to be interesting. You can browse what they're going to talk about. And like I said, you can actually do it right from your own couch. And we did not want my blacksmithing. Unless you guys want to learn how to make a set of tongs. Anyway, that one's open. There's a hackathon that starts July 19th. This is the Polar Vortex Hacking the Arctic Hackathon. It's a virtual online hackathon. I pointed this out last time and promised that I would do it probably 2 more times, since it does start on the 19th. I think that's a week from yesterday. So we'll probably do this again, but I think you have a month or at least a couple of weeks, July 19th to August 5th, to work on things. If you're publishing it open source, you can count those towards your contributions. So it's kind of a sidelight from your main jobs of whatever you're working on, and please don't short the stuff you're working on to do something in this. But if you are interested and you want to do this anyway, let us know and give us the links, and we will consider that as well when we're evaluating the open source contributions you do this semester. So that's the second one. And now this was an interesting one that came across. Audacity was recently bought out, and I believe I tried to throw this together really quickly. I just got the email, or I just reviewed my Slack messages last night, so I may have gotten some of this not quite right. But Audacity is the group. You guys are familiar with Audacity. They do it was an open source music program, runs on multiple platforms. They were acquired, it is open source, GPL license. They were acquired by the Muse Group. And after they were acquired by the Muse Group, they added a contributor licensing agreement. Now, a contributor licensing agreement is used by a lot of open source organizations, and it's used by open source organizations particularly when they have something like the GPL, because it allows them to take in code and obtain the copyright to the code that was taken in. The copyright holder can always change the license on future versions of the code, right? But you have to hold the copyright to everything you want to change the license for. So a CLA is a way a company protects itself and a business strategy. When you make a contribution, they ask you to sign over the copyright to them, so they then have control. And if they decide at a later date to change the license under which it was issued, they have the right to do that. And this comes into play. It's come into play in very innocuous ways, right? If you think back, I think it may have been the Linux community. I'm kind of blanking on all the gory details. I hadn't planned on talking about this until I started talking. But one of the major groups was under GPL2, and they wanted to migrate to GPL3. And the problem with GPL2 was GPL2 did not allow you to migrate to later versions of the GPL. So they actually had to go through and get all the copyright from all the people who had contributed code, either get or strip out all the code that had been contributed until they had to clean something that they could then up to GPL3. And that is why GPL3 has a or later clause in it, right? So now that you've upgraded, you can, if you're in GPL3, you can go to GPL4 when it comes out. That's, it makes it a lot easier. But it's that type of thing that companies want to protect against. On the other hand, it also allows a company who has code under the GPL to offer proprietary versions that aren't under the GPL. So it's kind of an end around the GPL for the company that owns the copyright. If you own the copyright, you can release the code under whatever version you want, and you can release it under the GPL to the general public and as part of a proprietary product without obeying the context of the GPL, so long as you hold the copyright. So it's kind of one of those get out of jail free cards. I don't know that that's sinister. Certainly does that part is not surprising. Most major companies, that run open source need one of these. There are some other things though that kind of happened. Audacity is a desktop app. It has no real reason to go out to the web, although it does check for updated versions now. But they changed their privacy policy to allow them to collect data. And as part of this checking to see whether your stuff is up to date, they're also starting to collect data on you. And they have ways that they can use that information. They can hold that information for a certain amount of time and respond. Again, this is not necessarily sinister, but if there is a request from a law body for your IP, a subpoena for that information, they would have to comply, and they would have to comply with any information they had in hand, right? So that's another thing that kind of happened. And then they added a clause that asks people in their privacy clause, it asks people under 13 not to use the application. It's not really binding. There's some indication, there's some people claiming that that's a violation of the GPL, where the GPL can't discriminate against any category of persons or any field of study. That's probably true. It's not clear, right? If you are under 13, you can grab the code, right? strip out that clause and then compile it for yourself without any violation of as far as I can tell. I haven't looked into it too much, but that seems like another way around it. If they provide you the code and anybody can use the code, but they don't want 13-year-olds running it, you can release your own version with the clause stripped out. And I think that's kind of, I'm not even sure why they have that clause in there. Anyway, all of this is covered in a FOSS post. Audacity is now a spyware. Remove it as soon as possible. I would not panic about this one, right? As soon as possible, take a look at it, make your own evaluations. The one thing that is kind of troubling is this clause to keep those from under 13 using it. That does seem to be a violation of the GPL. And if that's a violation of the GPL, then they are not, right? They're still releasing the code under the GPL, but they're also violating the GPL, which kind of makes it a little bit questionable. Anyway, what happens now? Well, it turns out that a lot of people use Audacity, and a lot of people in the open source community use Audacity, and if you get them stirred up, things happen. So what happened is there's actually a fork in progress. Before version 3.02, I think it is, there was no networking at all in Audacity. So it's certainly possible to start from that point and never get the networking in. They're calling themselves, it looks like, Tenacity, although there was some indication in the article I read that they're still going through and discussing different names and different strategies for maintaining the community. They did need to rebrand themselves because Audacity, while the code is released under the GPL, Audacity itself is a trademark, right? And they're not giving you access to their trademark, they're giving you access to the code. You can trademark another version of the code and ship it out, and by the context of the GPL, make it available. So they're trying to go in there. Their main concern is not the 13-year-old ban, although that's really easy to get rid of, right? Their concern is this networking spyware thing, and that's actually one of the things that Richard Stallman, why he was in favor of open source software, because you can't hide that stuff, right? If this was a closed source software, you might never know that they were sending out and gathering this information, but since it's open, they really can't hide it, and they really can't keep you from stripping it out. So anyway, there's now a GitHub set up called Tenacity, and they are looking to get themselves some Audacity users. So, these are kind of the causes. Like I said, I got this yesterday, and I haven't done a lot of research on it, but there were some things about that seemed interesting. So I would like to actually know more. So what I'm going to propose is that if anybody wants to take a deep dive into this, you can start at the Tenacity page. You saw they had some links in the README about why they wanted to do things. Why they forked, what they're hoping to get out of it, how they're building the community. If anybody's interested and wanted to give a quick 10 to 20 minutes at the start of class, I was going to say 15 minutes, but 10 to 20 minutes sounds both, more in depth and less imposing because you can do 10. Anyway, if anybody wants to do a quick 10 to 20 minutes, if you want to do a little basic research on this, you don't have to do any big digging into legalese or anything. Just get us the gory details. Answer some of these questions. What do you think? Does the under 13 clause put them in violation of the GPL? What are they planning to do about contributions before they had the CLA in place? There was some posts I saw that said that turning off the networking if you're building Audacity from source was as easy as turning off a CMake flag. For those of you familiar with CMake, it's a meta build system. It allows you to build systems. Is this a real conflict or paranoia? Again, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean people are out to get you or take advantage of you. Anyway, I just thought this would make an interesting concept. It would count as a bonus session for anybody who wanted to give it. And again, it doesn't have to be an hour, just 10 or 15 minutes. And it could be an interesting topic, or it could be just dirt boring. I don't know. I do like to call these little controversies as they come out. This is one of the reasons, by the way, that when you have an open source project, you actually have to be concerned about your users, right? Because if you irritate enough people, this is what happens. All of a sudden you have a fork, and at least initially, we'll see how this holds up over time, but at least initially, right, they've made a lot of progress, and they're starting to strip out a lot of the things that Audacity put in to allow them to track. You know, if you had a business model where you wanted to provide support to people doing Audacity, this might be your in, right? Switch to Tenacity instead. Join this community. They're a young community. They're just getting started. You could be a major contributor in a couple of months, probably, and all of a sudden you have, you know, a little side job, side light to bring home some coffee money, because coffee money is the only true worth. All right. Fixed information, I didn't change any of this. So unless you forgot everything, we're here. We're going to be here till about 3:30. We're going to run through this fairly quickly. We kind of wrapped up all of the project meetings. I have to check whether we talked to everybody or not. I didn't get to that. I drove far more than I thought and worked on my computer far less than I thought. So we will check that out. I didn't do any changes to rainbow grades, so everything is still up through 7.1, which is good because you just had a week off. There's not really much else that happened. And let me know if any of that information is incorrect. We do have these available projects. Over the next week or two, we're going to do two things. The first thing is I'm going to ask each one of you to come up with a personal list of commits, of open source contributions. It's optional. You don't need to do it. I think it'll be due next Tuesday or Friday. But if you do it, we will take a look and tell you, do you need to up it? Are you on track? I will never tell you you need to lower it. That just isn't going to happen. But we'll tell you, if you're proceeding at a good pace or not. It's a short semester in the summer, so I know all of this is coming on really hard and fast. I normally like to give you guys about a month to work on stuff before we start, offering to evaluate whether you've made any progress or not. If I give you a month, we're in the middle of August and you have no time to recover. So we want you to have time to make up any shortfalls. And again, I will not tell you that you are doing so well that you can coast, so don't expect to hear that. That seems to be completely counterproductive. We're here. We are after break. You have until July 30th to add or remove a pass no credit designation, and we have final exams coming up on August 20th. That's the end of this. There's nothing else that occurs this entire semester except for things like, eating lunch and stuff like that, as far as I know. Have they done any enrichment activities for you guys this summer? I mean, in previous arches, the whole purpose of the arch was to give you guys enrichment things, so they would be like pop-up courses and field trips to various places around. You guys are just being forced to be in Troy in the summer with nothing to do and probably no air conditioning if you're in the dorms. You have air conditioning? All right. How many of you have air conditioning? Awesome. We visited my parents on the trip to Notre Dame. They're about halfway. They do not have air conditioning. That was some hot nights. All right. So I'm good. That's great. You guys, they've improved the dorm since I was an undergraduate here back in the long, long ago, previous millennium. All right. We are here, right? We are exactly at the halfway point. The end of this lecture kind of tips us past it. So, it's time to kind of kick things up into gear. Oh, the other thing we're going to ask you to do, or the other thing we're going to do with you is at the end of the semester, everybody has to do a presentation on their projects. So I haven't decided whether I'll do sign-ups or whether I'll just randomly assign everybody and then let you guys complain. Probably the latter. But we will try to accommodate anything like people in different time zones, or you have a major test on the day I'm asking you to do a presentation. So come talk to us. We can, if you do it early enough, we can probably swap some things around. We've done a lot of the workshops. I think I have 2 more on the schedule. Alice is going to do. I thought I saw Alice walking down here.
I'm here.
Hi. Alice is going to do Resume 101, right?
Indeed, and it's going to be pretty fast. So if you don't yet have a bonus session and you want to clean up your resume a little bit, this is the perfect one to go to. Not to like advertise my own workshop or anything.
Cool. Well, that's why we're here, is to advertise your own workshop. And it's going to be today, right? At 3 p.m.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So, so if you have any, I know everybody who's a rising junior thinks that they have an infinity of time to get the resume up to date, but trust me, the first one is the hard one. Once you're there, right, it's just a matter of hacking and modifying. So, come to this, get a resume put together. If you want, you could even post it. We'll take a look at them, right? I'd be happy to take a look at some. Maybe we need a resume channel. But let's follow this up. They'll meet in the RCOS Discord room under the workshops channel, and that is, again, at 3 p.m. Bill Nye is going to do one, Vanilla JS like a boss. I was trying to think if I could do a cool voice or something, but no, not a chance. But Bill, if you want to, you're welcome to. That's going to be a week from tomorrow, on the 21st at 7 p.m., again in the RCOS Discord. JavaScript, a lot of our projects are based off of some type of web application. You probably want to know JavaScript. You probably want to know, some of the packages. So these are all very timely and useful kinds of workshops. So help Bill Nye out. He'd love to see you there. Costs him the same whether he presents to 1 of you or 10 of you, but it's certainly more satisfying to have 10 of you. And watch the resume workshop. Go to the resume workshop as well. Good resume can get you in the door. And for most of you guys, that's probably all it's going to take. Okay. So really, there isn't much else today. The fun thing was kind of the interesting tidbits that we had at the beginning, in particular the Audacity thing, and I am looking for a volunteer to present more on that. That would be pretty cool. And it would give you guys, if you guys are looking for a topic, it would give something, it would be worthwhile for all of us, and I would like to learn a little bit more about it, and it would give you guys some experience. So if anybody's interested, please reach out to me. I'll give you time at the start of next class, or we can put it off a week, week and a half, whatever's convenient for you. Your major task, though, is to be meeting in your small groups, right? We are now 6 weeks from the end. Halfway through the semester, we blew the first 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks, getting ourselves set up, right? And then you had another 2 weeks where you had to get yourselves familiar with what you decided you were going to do, make a plan, right? Now is the time when we have to start executing. And remember that executing can be continuing to develop your plan so long as you put your design stuff out in the real world, right? You have to put it in your GitHub repository, put it someplace where we can find it. But hopefully some of you will be doing some code. We'll get some cool projects out, and we'll meet at least twice a week with your small group. After this meeting is a good time. After Friday's meeting is a good time. But just make sure you're at least meeting twice a week and putting in some time outside of that period to continue to develop your own ideas. You should use the group time to kind of discuss things that the group needs to discuss, make a plan, and then go out and execute largely on your own time or with some additional on your own time. Again, nothing's changed since Friday on Rainbow Grades. I don't know why I had that in there twice, except I think I copied this from someplace else. And that brings us to the attendance code. Again, go to Venue. Right, following that link. I'll pop it back up in a second. Go to our courses, blah, 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 blah. There we are. And then scan in our QR code that would look something like this. Oops, keep going back to him. All right, so this link gets you to venue. This link gets you credit. And then I'm just going to throw down here, I do like to give you the opportunity. Again, we don't make any money off this, but I do love seeing this stuff around campus. So, you know, go to the RCOS shop if you want. And we don't make money. All right, there you go. That's it for today. You know, please consider meeting in your small groups after this. Otherwise, you are free to Turner brand tongs. Absolutely. I'm hoping for that to be presented. Josh, you know, this Friday would be cool just because it's on my mind. But any time over the next 2 weeks would be great. You know, even if you wanted to take a look at it, you know, tell me you're taking a look at it, and then arrange with me later. You know, this is not. You can see that we're not running anywhere close to the 2 hours we have for this class. So mainly because again, this is supposed to be a group work project kind of class, but you know that means we have time. So you know, at your okay, that should be fine. Yeah, sure. So it looks like we may have a volunteer. And by the way, you know, you can present remotely if you want to or need to. We've done that before, or you can come up and present from the platform, and I'll put on my mask and go out into the audience. So again, whatever makes sense. I don't like to give answers to these things because I have some, you know, because first off, there is no real answer, right? Audacity or Muse Group could be doing everything. You know, they could have made a few mistakes along the way. They claim that their privacy policy was badly worded. Right, there's not necessarily anything sinister going on here, right? So I don't like to. So I like to get you guys thinking about this stuff, right? There's not really a right answer until we find out, you know, that they actually go out and sue everybody and, you know, something like that. But there are a lot of questions that can be answered and concepts that can be applied. All right, so it looks like we may have those. And if I get my tongs made. I'll at least bring in a picture. I don't think tongs can be considered a dangerous weapon, so that would probably be okay. Well, they give you a nasty pinch on the nose. All right, sounds good, guys. I'm going to turn off the recording. I'll leave this up here for a few more minutes. And enjoy yourselves. Think about some of the things we have going on, and we'll see you Friday with more. I'll have more that the status updates are due to be graded by Wednesday, I think it is. So I'll have all those up by Friday as well.